The three realms, once perfectly balanced, now crumble with time. Evil miasma floods heaven, spreading like an invisible plague. Generals unite as heaven's gates fall. Retreat means death. Stand and fight. Soldiers swear to die where they stand, spirits blazing like fire. With the command given, archers draw bows in perfect unison. Arrows streak like falling stars, turning the sky into a rain of steel. Suddenly, their attack fails as the void trembles. An unseen force seizes soldiers' bodies, sowing pure terror. The general holds firm, no retreat, only death in battle. A twisted voice rises, drunk on the ecstasy of killing. That sound lures all into a cruel, maddening trance. A giant hand appears, sweeping the army into helpless chaos. Divine light flashes from above, but despairing screams echo. The beam, a celestial blade, slices through darkened clouds. Its true form revealed, a legendary treasure awes all. A soldier gasps, "It's Erlangshen, isn't it?" The mighty god and his loyal dog appear, smirking at failure. He sighs, every defense line seems shattered. The dog warns, danger scent grows near. Guan Shiyin suddenly descends amid the peril. The army cheers, believing salvation has come. Erlangshen doubts, asking his dog, who replies uneasily. Suddenly Guan Yin turns hostile, striking viciously. Erlangshen laughs coldly, such cheap illusion fools not his celestial eye. His divine gaze opens, body blazing into battle. He unleashes a spell that shakes heaven and earth. The dog yelps, begging him to go easy or end the fun too soon. But Erlangshen answers not. He charges like thunder, roaring judgment. The fake Guan Yin raises shields, layering defenses. Erlangshen inhales deeply, shouting as he readies a fatal blow. He meets the deadly strike, unmoved, laughing in defiance. The dog growls, sensing strange energy flooding the battlefield. Both realize the foe reeks of chaos, not a mortal being. Erlangshen feels his power drained, sensing the enemy's true monstrous form. Hao Tian lunges, baring fangs to protect his master. Erlangshen struggles in chaos, shouting for Hao Tian to stop. Has understood the miasma's secret. He grasps why the gods fell, and gives Hao Tian a vital mission. Hao Tian growls, mocking his master's defeat, claiming he'll handle it himself. As is nearly consumed, Erlangshen reveals Hao Tian's true demonic origin and destiny. Then he breaks Hao Tian's seal, shocking the dog. Demonic energy erupts like an unending storm. Hao Tian laughs madly, his days of restraint are over. Suddenly, a colossal hand crashes down, leaving him screaming. Hao Tian plummets to the mortal realm, cursing before vanishing. Erlangshen sighs, knowing this was the only way. Through his celestial eye, he sees the future, entrusting Hao Tian with saving the three realms. The mortal sky turns black, thunder weaving as a ruined building looms in the storm. In a dark alley, Beiming is cornered by thugs begging for mercy. The leader taunts him over wooing a pretty girl, assuming he's rich. Beiming trembles, offering all his money to protect Ni. One thug sneaks behind, ordering him to strip in humiliation. Ni screams in fury, about to fight, startling Beiming into stopping her. He signals her to stay silent, swallowing his pride just to survive. Each piece of clothing falls, leaving him bare amid cruel laughter. When his crippled body is revealed, the thugs mock mercilessly as Beiming bows in shame, praying it ends soon. One goon finds only 100 yuan in his wallet, driving the boss into a rage. The boss gaze fixes on Beiming's prosthetic arm, clearly worth a fortune. The leader coldly orders his men to take whatever they want from the useless boy. A thug rips off the prosthetic arm and tosses it away like trash as Beiming writhes in pain. Tears fall as the gang sneers, mocking his dream of being whole. Ni, unable to bear it, charges at the leader. She delivers a brutal kick, sending him reeling. The thug flies like a rag doll, crashing to the ground. Ni demands coldly that they return what they stole. Another thug smashes Beiming's head with the stolen arm, calling him worthless trash. Beiming clenches his fist, enduring the insult in silence. The thug, amused, lifts him by the hair, grinning as he crushes his dignity. Gasping in pain, Beiming orders Ni to run. Tears in her eyes, Ni refuses to leave him behind. The thug presses a knife to Beiming's neck, warning her to stay put or hell kill him. Ni bites her lip, drops her weapon, and submits to protect him. The leader grabs her hand roughly, threatening with a cruel smirk. He slams her against the wall, drawing a cry of pain. With a vile grin, he asks how she plans to compensate. His gaze slides down her body, dripping with vile intent. Seeing this, Beiming's blood boils. He roars for him to stop, but is forced face down, mocked as a fake hero. Broken, Beiming accepts the insult, begging them to spare Ni. Then, with his remaining strength, he pushes himself up. With sheer will, he headbutts the thug, screaming to protect her. He throws his whole body forward, attacking without hesitation. His furious roar demands they release her at once. A sharp numbness surges through him, a bad omen rising. Before he knows it, the knife buries deep in his belly, blood gushing. He coughs up thick red blood, his breath fading. In dying moments, he recalls his vow to protect Ni, even if helpless. His eyelids fall, his last sight Ni rushing to him as he smiles in apology. The echo of a Ming fills him with guilt, feeling unworthy of life. In the haze, his mother's voice urges him to stay strong even without her. He relives the past, crying in ruins, grasping her fading hand. The tragic scene returns. His mother sacrificed herself, leaving final words of love. So long as you live, there's hope. Her words ignite his tears and will to survive. Her final smile burns in his heart, guiding him through death's shadow. The explosion ends all his lost in ruin, wondering why he still breathes. Rescued, doctors marvel that he lives, though missing an arm and leg, his will unbroken. Waking in the hospital, he sees Sai crying with joy, clutching flowers and calling his name. But life after his struggle he relearns to walk, spurred by Ni's encouragement to stay strong. He breaks down, screaming into the darkness, cursing fate's cruelty. At that moment, the sky tears open with a strange, radiant light. Lightning crashes down, carrying a strange object that slams into the earth. A flash bursts near Ni, shaking the air itself. Behind her, a blooded entity emerges, radiating demonic energy. Beiming roars, fangs gleaming as feral instinct awakens. The thugs panic, stammering at the supernatural chaos unfolding. Lightning strikes, blood surges toward his lost arm, terrifying them further. A massive pillar of light engulfs him, obscuring his form completely. The white glow shifts into crimson, spreading through his body. A strange metal ring appears, clamping his left arm like a reawakened seal. His blood merges with his body, energy spiraling around him. Behind him, a giant wolf spirit appears, wide-eyed and snarling, freezing all in fear. Beiming transforms, fully eyes cold, breath bloody, enemies trembling. Kneeling, he grows a new hand, clawed and sharp, drawing energy from the air. The wolf behind him howls, tearing through the night. A red beam pierces the leader's body, freezing him in place. Realizing too late, his arm shatters as he screams for mercy. He sees his own bones forming inside Beiming, trembling in terror as the boy stays silent. Suddenly, another thug rushes in, crying for help. Meeting Beiming's gaze, he drops his knife, babbling he's just a bystander. Seeing the red aura, he shrieks and flees, vowing never to sin again. Beiming inhales deeply. Sensing everything through demonic energy, one thug stammers, asking why he bears heavenly aura. Silent, Beiming steps toward the leader, who trembles uncontrollably. Panicking, the thug reveals his true form, a horned red demon babbling excuses. He raises his hands, begging for mercy, knowing only submission means survival. Suddenly light flares, he shields his face, thinking death is near, but Beiming merely passes by. Realizing he's alive, he gasps in relief, drenched in cold sweat. Then he notices his standing inside enormous fanged jaws of demonic energy. Beiming slowly lifts his head, walking towards Ni. He stands before her. Redaged, she trembles, calling his name in terror. Beiming steps closer, staring silently as Ni weeps and pleads. He smiles faintly, a twisted, beastly grin. Tears stream down Ni's face as she shakily calls for him. Beiming opens his mouth, tongue long, fangs gleaming, his form monstrous. Above, the city quakes, demonic wails echo through the skies. Suddenly, memories return, his birthday with his mother at a sacred temple. He once pouted, asking why visit a temple instead of having cake. She smiled softly, saying it was to thank Buddha for saving him as a child. In the Buddha hall, they knelt together, prayers whispering through incense smoke. Beiming prayed silently for his mother's lifelong peace and health. Afterward, she laughed and invited him to celebrate, filling him with joy. But happiness shattered as their car plunged off a cliff. Flames engulfed everything, taking his mother's life as he screamed to the heavens. In the chaos, a cold voice mocks his faith in gods and Buddhas. Hao Tian appears as a dark spirit fox, declaring the deities long gone. Beiming screams, demanding to know who he is, fear mixing with confusion. Hao Tian roars, proclaiming the boy his next meal. His jaws open wide, Beiming thrashes in terror, crying for help. Everything fades, Beiming jolts awake on a hospital bed, body twitching. He looks around in shock, realizing he's back in the hospital. Sweat pours down as he gasps and tries to calm his racing heart. His eyes widen, recalling the monster from his nightmare. He sighs, reassuring himself it was only a bad dream. But behind him, heavy breathing sounds. Hao Tian stands there for real. With a dark snarl, Hao Tian demands, "What have you done, boy?" Seeing his terrifying face, Beiming trembles, unable to speak. Panicking, he dives under the blanket, screaming "Monster!" like a child. Enraged, Hao Tian expands, filling the room, roaring accusations as Beiming pleads innocence. His stump shakes the bed, murderous aura making Beiming pale. Hao Tian rages, his body damaged, his soul trapped in a mortal shell. He plants a foot on Beiming's shoulder, threatening to tear him apart. Terrified yet stubborn, Beiming insists he knows nothing. Hao Tian peers into his eyes, realizing he might be telling the truth. With a huff, he spares him, scoffing at the cripple's weakness. Grumbling, Hao Tian curses being banished to the mortal realm, blaming Yang Jin yet forgetting his task. Outside, skies are calm. Inside, killing intent lingers as he mutters about enjoying mortal life first. He smirks at Beiming, declaring hell devour all mortals starting with him. Beiming turns pale, heart pounding, too scared to reply. Hao Tian laughs loudly, leaping out the window in arrogant glee. Suddenly, a glowing chain flies from nowhere, binding him midair. Caught off guard, Hao Tian roars in disbelief. The chain tightens, radiating sacred power that makes him scream in pain. Struggling helplessly, he demands to know what cursed thing this is. He freezes upon seeing the chain's end leading back to Beiming's room. Then it yanks him violently, dragging him back inside. His huge body slams into the floor, cracking it open. He rises, roaring as searing energy burns around him. Before him, Beiming glows with crimson flame, his body radiating divine primal fire. Hao Tian stares in horror. How could this cripple wield such godly power? Furious, he roars, unable to comprehend why his strength is bound by this weakling. Red sparks explode along the chain, crashing like thunder. Beiming freezes, face contorted in sudden dread. He clutches his head, screaming as if his soul is being torn apart. Memories flood back, knee cornered. Trembling was that the past. A hand slams down, a hoarse voice cries of hunger. Ni pleads for him to wake. Lost in memory, Beiming can't tell what's real anymore. A voice echoes from outside, calling his name, pulling him back. He gags, stomach twisting as nausea overtakes him. Hao Tian asks about the girl, his tone almost teasing. He licks his lips, boosting his already tasted her. Beiming freezes, face pale, trembling, speechless. Hao Tian casually admits he possessed a cripple's body and starving, devoured that girl. Beiming's dark expression makes Hao Tian suspicious, asking about their connection. Beiming lets out a dry, broken laugh. The laughter grows louder until Hao Tian thinks he's gone mad. Beiming screams at the heavens, cursing fate for stealing everyone he loved. He laughs bitterly, wondering if someone like him even deserves to cry. Staring at Hao Tian, he mockingly asks who he really is. He challenges Hao Tian's so-called power, baiting him to brag. Puffed with pride, Hao Tian declares himself a beast that made heaven and hell tremble. Beiming calmly calls him evil, surprising Hao Tian with his composure. Hao Tian admits it proudly, while Beiming answers with cold indifference. Beiming steps onto the windowsill, alarming Hao Tian. He climbs out completely, leaving Hao Tian panicked and confused. With a smirk, Beiming taunts, "What, afraid now?" He grips the chain, coldly remarking on the bond between them. Hao Tian roars in fury, threatening to devour him whole. Beiming scoffs, mocking that if he could, he already would. Sweat drips down Hao Tian's face, he knows has been seen through, fearing for his soul. Still, he growls, trying to retort against the insult. Beiming shouts, mocking his fake power and crippled prison of a body. Then, he bursts into manic laughter echoing through the air. Turning away, Beiming's eyes empty as he prepares to leap, seeing life as a burden. He thinks dying with the beast might at least mean doing one thing right, staring into the abyss. Hao Tian panics, pretending to be kind, calling himself a righteous friend to stop him. Beiming only snorts coldly, making Hao Tian furious, yelling for him to jump already. Before he finishes, Beiming leaps, and Hao Tian screams curses. Hao Tian freezes as Beiming falls freely through the air. Beiming flips him off midair, grinning wickedly. Inside, he whispers an apology to Shinai. Suddenly, strange energy flares, shocking Hao Tian. A violet cord of power wraps around Beiming's leg. He gasps, shouting as he senses something familiar. Still confused, he's yanked upward by the glowing tether. Breathless but safe, he looks up just as a nurse appears. She speaks softly, voice dripping with strange allure. Beiming stares wide-eyed at her in disbelief. Purple threads still flicker in her hand as she scolds him half-jokingly. Beiming stammers out, asking who she is, while Hao Tian gawks at her in awe. She slaps his cheek lightly, making him yelp like he's been shocked. Then she turns to Beiming, teasing that someone this tasty shouldn't die so soon. As they stand close, she exhales softly, her whisper thick with seduction. Beiming freezes, mind spinning, unsure what she is. Her tongue slithers out unnaturally long, a chilling warning. Hao Tian senses strange demonic aura and shouts in alarm. The nurse transforms, eyes glowing violet, jaws sprouting mandibles, tongue snaking out as she hisses, "Shall eat him." Beiming stumbles back, screaming to the heavens about another damn monster. Hao Tian yells for him to use scissors to fight. Beiming mishears, thinking it's a martial arts technique, nodding solemnly. He kicks fiercely, shouting, "Deadly peach blossom strike!" The demoness ducks low, stabbing her claws into his leg. Blood sprays. Pain screams out. Hao Tian grabs his head, shouting he meant real scissors, while Beiming looks utterly lost. Realizing it, Beiming curses and grabs the nearest pair of scissors. He kicks the demoness off, yelling at Hao Tian for his useless advice. But the Shedderman clings tight, dragging him down again. She coos sweetly, her seductive tone sending chills. With a mouthful of fangs, she grins wickedly, promising to make him feel good. Then she lunges, straddling him. Her hands roam across his chest, making him tremble uncontrollably. By reflex, his hand slips down, landing right on her butt. Hao Tian gapes, shouting that his groping in the middle of battle. Beiming protests innocence. Spikes sprout from her backside, clutching them in pain. He yells he's just trying not to get impaled. She squeezes his throat, he gasps, muttering that he wanted to die, so why's he afraid now? With a crooked grin, he jokes that dying to a sexy demon beats, splattering on the pavement. Hao Tian rolls his eyes, sensing disaster coming. He shouts, ordering the demon to release Beiming. Divine light bursts around him, power booming like thunder. The Shedderman smirks, mocking the heavenly dog for finally acting tough. Hao Tian answers proudly, "To offend me is death." She retracts her fangs, resuming her nurse form, sneering that is not so scary anymore. She glances sideways, mocking his old submission to the gods. Her voice sharpens, calling him heaven's gat-guarding mutt. Hao Tian trembles with rage, humiliated to the core. Roaring, he reveals his beast form and lunges to bite. She flicks her hand, his tossed aside like a feather. Dazed, he watches as she resumes choking Bei Ming. Hao Tian stares in shock, realizing his power had no effect. Seeing Bei Ming limp, he starts to suspect this cripple isn't ordinary. The demoness cackles shrilly, boasting she never came unprepared. She covers her mouth coyly, revealing she overheard all their secrets. Her tone turns venomous. She knows Hao Tian's true spirit is bound and his energy draining. Hao Tian grits his teeth, knowing she's right. She licks her lips in delight, claiming she'll absorb his divine power through Bei Ming's body. Bending over Bei Ming again, she laughs like a lunatic in the night. Hao Tian can only curse fate, an end fit for a hero, ruined by a cripple and a crazy demon. Bei Ming's eyes flutter open, dazed. Seeing her heaving chest inches from his face, he wonders if this is heaven. The demoness hisses, drool flying as he recoils. He shouts, half terrified, half resigned, begging her to just finish him off. She smiles wickedly, promising to grant his wish. An apple suddenly flies in, smacking her in the back of the head. Without turning, she growls, demanding who dares interrupt her feast. At the door stands Shiny, clutching a half-eaten apple, face full of fury. Bei Ming looks up, tear-eyed, choking her name as he recalls she'd been eaten. He glares at Hao Tian, cursing the damn dog for lying, making him slink aside nervously. Shiny grits her teeth, scolding that she only came to visit and found this filthy scene. She pelts him with apples, shouting he's a perverted doctor, while he flails to explain. The Shedman rises slowly, eyes glowing blooded, lunging at Shiny, declaring her the next course. Shiny freezes, muttering it looks like a horror cosplay. The demon's twisted hand grabs her shoulder, spider legs sprouting across her back. Shiny's eyes flare with resolve, preparing to strike back. She spins and kicks straight into the demon's face, sending her sprawling. She glares at Bei Ming in disgust, mocking his heavy taste while he stammers excuses. The demoness rises, shocked by such strength from a mere mortal girl. Wiping blood from her lips, she sneers as more spider legs burst from her back. Her towering form fills the room, shadow like a monstrous spider sprawled across the walls. Shiny steps back, trembling, demanding to know what she is. A spider leg lashes out, slamming her hard into the wall. Feigning pity, the demon laughs coldly. That kick hurt, time for payback. Bei Ming struggles up, shouting for Shiny to run before she dies. The demon spits a spray of white silk. Threads coil around Shiny's neck, hoisting her up as the creature giggles wickedly, warning her to behave. The threads tighten, blood seeping from her throat, the demon's sweet voice dripping poison. Suddenly, a shout echoes, "Let her go!" Bei Ming stabs frantically at the spider legs with scissors, trembling as he yells. The demon whirls around, eyes blazing, and snorts coldly. One spider leg pierces straight through Bei Ming's body. "Silence!" she roars. Blood gushes from his mouth like crimson rain. Shiny sobs soundlessly, struggling against the silk bonds. The demon withdraws her legs slowly, remarking casually that she missed his vital spot. Hell live, for now. Bei Ming collapses, eyes hollow, puppet-like. His mind storms with shame, rage, regret, and despair. Hao Tian leaps close, smirking that at least the boy's survival instinct still works. He leans in, eyes glowing, claiming to have a life-saving proposition. Out of the fog, Bei Ming's eyes open slightly as his mind clears. Around him lies a wasteland of skulls, ash, and shattered night, hell itself, perhaps. He looks up bitterly, thinking that one like him deserves eternal torment. Hao Tian approaches, sneering that even ants crave life, how much more so humans. Bei Ming replies coldly, asking if a monster could ever grasp human pain. Hao Tian shrugs that he doesn't need to. He explains this place is his mental realm, not hell, and they now share one consciousness. Their lives are bound. If one dies, so does the other. Bei Ming scoffs, it's rotten luck being chained to a crippled mutt. Hao Tian says Bei Ming absorbed great power, but lacks the key, and he himself is that key. Smirking, Bei Ming retorts, so you want me to join you in devouring the mortal world? Rejected, Hao Tian erupts in fury, insulted that a cripple dares look down on him. Bei Ming laughs, saying the more power is chained, the more precious life becomes, and he has nothing to lose. Hell work together only if Hao Tian obeys. He declares firmly that from now on, he calls the shots. Hao Tian curses inwardly, realizing he has no choice but to yield. With a roar, he steps back, grudgingly agreeing. Bei Ming blinks, surprised at how fast he gave in. A pillar of blazing light explodes in the void as Hao Tian's voice booms, "Hurry, or we'll both die!" The light pours into Bei Ming's body, flowing through his veins, pulling his soul back to reality. The demoness sees it, eyes wide with terror at the strange energy. Bei Ming's fist swings up, shattering her spider legs as his thunderous voice roars, "Who dares?" Dark red energy surges around him. "You will never touch her again." His next blow slices the air, shaking the room. Without hesitation, Bei Ming lands a fatal punch, sending the demoness crashing to the ground. He rushes to embrace Shiny, shielding her as demonic aura erupts wildly, his arm turning into a beast's claw. Bei Ming stared at his hand, stunned by his new power, mumbling that one swing was that strong. He told Shiny to back off, saying he'd handle the monster. She blushed and worriedly asked why he was fighting when he was so injured. Bei Ming calmly pulled the spider leg from his chest, making Shi Ni scream in horror. She trembled, scolding him for being stupid since pulling it out would make him bleed to death. Panicking, she thought if Aiming died, she'd be single forever and end up a lonely old woman visiting his grave. Sai Ni burst into tears, hitting him while crying, "Idiot! If you die, how am I supposed to live?" Bei Ming awkwardly tried to comfort her, while Ha Tian sighed behind them, thinking women were just trouble. Not knowing how to console her, Bei Ming innocently suggested stabbing himself again to stop the pain, making Shi Ni scream and Hao Tian want to bash his head. Hao Tian grumbled, saying his demon power had sealed the wound and even healed Bei Ming's organs. Bei Ming just nodded absent-mindedly. He lifted his shirt to check, only a faint scar remained, no blood at all. Hao Tian smugly bragged that the power he granted had upgraded all Bei Ming's senses and reflexes, teasing that more upgrades awaited if he behaved. Bei Ming looked bored and pretended not to hear, leaving Hao Tian frustrated enough to change topics. Inside, Hao Tian seethed, vowing to rip the brat apart once his power was restored. A loud crash echoed as rubble tumbled down. Bei Ming quickly brushed aside the debris, staying alert. The female demon emerged from the dust, eyes gleaming with amusement, mocking Hao Tian for lowering himself to save a human. She opened her mouth, revealing fangs and a long tongue, hissing that devouring them would make her a great demon, or even a demon fairy. Bei Ming snarled, "Eat my stinky foot," and charged her with lightning claws. He spun, stepped back, and punched hard enough to smash through a wall. The smoke behind him hadn't even cleared yet. Looking at his monstrous arm, he was stunned by the terrifying power coursing through him. Excited by his new strength, he wanted to find those who bullied Shi Ni and collect tuition fees, but a shout stopped him mid-stride. Turning back, he realized he'd just wrecked a hospital wall and nearly caused a disaster. He kicked some pebbles at the spider's silk still on the wall, but they bounced off harmlessly. Bei Ming frowned, amazed that the web was tougher than steel. He ruffled his hair, laughing at his own naivety for showing off and almost getting trapped. Suddenly, something strange fell to the ground with a weird thud. The female demon reappeared, regretful, saying he should just died quietly, it would been prettier. Bei Ming placed his hand on the web and said coldly, "I'm not the weakling I used to be." He yanked hard, stretching the silk like a bowstring. The demon roared that he was bluffing. No way a heavenly hound's power could tear her silk. But in a flash, the web ripped apart, leaving her frozen in disbelief. A voice echoed from the hallway, "What's going on the 16th floor?" Someone screaming, then security and nurses talking about checking it out. Hearing that, the demon paled, muttering she could let humans discover her. Bei Ming smirked, taunting, "What's wrong? Weren't you just threatening to eat me?" She gritted her teeth, retracting her spider legs, warning that countless demons were watching the demonic energy he'd just released. With that, she smashed a window and leaped out, leaving a chilling warning that they'd come like waves to devour him. Hao Tian appeared beside him. Bei Ming asked about the warning, and Hao Tian confirmed that many demons had long infiltrated the human world. It was absolutely true. Bei Ming worried about danger while Hao Tian got offended. Thinking he was being underestimated, they argued as the crowd gossiped about the hole in the wall, and Shi Ni panikedly claimed it was an earthquake. Hao Tian went silent, mentioning the divine seals balancing the three realms and how he once failed to break them, leaving him with only a tenth of his demon power. Even so, the chaotic aura from the human world filled him with unease. Bei Ming, seeing him quiet, teased, "What's wrong, dead mutt?" He curiously asked about that time Hao Tian swallowed Shi Ni and what really happened. Hao Tian fumed at the disrespect, declaring he'd cultivated for over 1,000 years. Then, embarrassed, he said it was too shameful to talk about. Remembering the past, Hao Tian had once turned into Bei Ming and cornered Shi Ni against a wall, making her tremble. His eyes glowed red, mouth wide like he was about to devour her. Sai Ni screamed in terror, calling for him to wake up. Panicking, she delivered a critical kick right to his groin. Hao Tian collapsed, writhing on the ground in agony. Bei Ming, sensing hesitation, pressed him for more details. Hao Tian awkwardly dodged, telling him to ask Shi Ni instead. Bei Ming blushed, insisting she was just a childhood friend, prompting Hao Tian to tease. Then why the red face? Night fell, silver moonlight bathing everything. They stood on the rooftop. Bei Ming doubted Hao Tian's strength, thinking restraining him would suffice. Bei Ming decided to test if anything besides his strength had improved. Below, students sang and danced cheesy love songs about nature. From above, Bei Ming noticed his eyesight was so sharp he could see every move nearly a kilometer away. Hao Tian grew impatient, while Bei Ming calmly said he was testing his new abilities. Hearing that, Hao Tian roared like thunder, furious at being doubted. Bei Ming patiently explained, comparing it to superheroes, testing power is necessary prep for danger. Mid-sentence, Bei Ming suddenly froze. Hao Tian looked in the direction Bei Ming was staring. They saw a girl bathing and both went speechless. Their faces flushed, eyes shining like headlights. The girl turned her head, and Bei Ming turned pale at being caught. They ducked down fast. Hao Tian mocked him for being timid, while Bei Ming protested it was purely accidental. Bei Ming jumped up, changing the topic, wanting to test more of his body's abilities. With that, he casually stepped onto the railing. Hao Tian panicked, barking like a dog, not understanding what Bei Ming was doing. As he climbed up, he saw Bei Ming had already leapt off the edge. The magical chain around Hao Tian's neck glowed, dragging him down too. He screamed, cursing Bei Ming for being addicted to bridge jumping. While falling, Bei Ming clearly heard a distant girl flirting with her teacher. The teacher replied sweetly, bragging about his coming divorce and hiding assets from his wife. Nearby, a driver grumbled about his wife confiscating his keyboard. Bei Ming realized he could hear even the tiniest sounds. His senses had truly leveled up. He grabbed a lamppost midair, spun gracefully, and landed smoothly. Bei Ming assessed that his body was now both nimble and flexible. He landed right in front of the teacher and his mistress. Hao Tian, however, crashed butt first, wincing in pain. The mistress screamed, and the teacher hurried to calm his baby. Then he turned to scold Bei Ming for scaring his lover. Bei Ming stood proudly, hands on hips, declaring, "Call me hero of the streets." The teacher froze, realizing this was the useless student Bei Ming from school. Bei Ming also felt the man looked familiar, mumbling as he pieced it together. His face stiffened in horror. It was his homeroom teacher. Cold sweat broke out as Bei Ming went pale, realizing he'd just made a fool of himself before his teacher utterly doomed. Seeing his teacher cuddling the young girl, he confirmed she definitely wasn't the legal wife. This was the side quest. Bei Ming's instincts flared. He sniffed a few times, face full of suspicion. He sniffed around oddly, making the girl recoil in disgust and call him a pervert. Bei Ming's eyes glowed red as he silently concluded the strange scent came from her. He immediately played dumb, hands in pockets, smiling politely like a good student. The teacher sweated nervously, terrified that Bei Ming had overheard his cheating talk. Bei Ming seriously warned that the woman beside him carried another man's scent. The mistress exploded, yelling denial, while the teacher barked at her to shut up. In the chaos, Bei Ming suddenly sensed something unusual. A crimson aura enveloped him, reeking of burning air. While he stood dazed, the argument escalated. The mistress stormed off as the teacher desperately tried to stop her. When she disappeared, the teacher froze, face twitching in despair. He spun around furiously, shouting Bei Ming's name. But Bei Ming had vanished, leaving the man fuming and vowing revenge. At that moment, screeching taxi brakes split the air. The yellow cab sped toward the crowd, people screaming and scattering. A dance troupe stood ahead as the taxi hurtled straight toward them. Inside, passengers screamed. The panicked driver stomped the brakes, but the system was dead. The taxi slammed into a wall and exploded like fireworks in the street. The blast launched it skyward, flipping over the dancers' heads, leaving mouths agape. Suddenly, a blur shot past just a red streak in the air. The crowd buzzed in confusion as Bei Ming blinked around, wearing a dog helmet, muttering, "Wait, where's my head?" He realized he was soaring through the air with the dog helmet, amazed by the insane speed. Behind him, Hao Tian was dragged along howling, "Not this damn flying feeling again!" In a flash, Bei Ming reached the falling car, arms out in a catching pose. Looking goofy with the dog head, he sternly hyped himself, "Power come to me!" The car crashed down, but Bei Ming stopped it cold. The ground cracked and sparks danced around him. His hands blazed red, hard as steel, his strength skyrocketing. With one arm, Bei Ming effortlessly lifted the car upright, exclaiming, "Textbook move!" An old dancer gawked, wig flying off, mouth shaped like an O. The two passengers sat frozen, unable to process what just happened. The crowd swarmed, some shouting it was a movie set, others claiming special effects. Bei Ming ignored them, tearing open the door and asking the victims kindly if they were okay. They trembled, saying they were fine, and Bei Ming coolly remarked, "Life's full of roads, safety first." With that, he turned and walked away into the dust. In his hand, Bei Ming held the old dancer's lost wig. He walked up and gently placed it back on the old man's head. Then he joked, "Uncle, your moves are fire star of the night," making the old man shyly thank him. Bei Ming turned, struck a dramatic pose, and said one word, "Nobody." The crowd stood stunned, not understanding what the hell he meant. A nearby phone had captured the whole heroic car rescue. When the clip ended, people shouted, "Record more! We want part 2!" Bei Ming just smiled smugly, basking in the spotlight. At school, everyone's eyes followed the new hero strutting proudly down the hall. Bei Ming heard the whispers, his face darkened as people called him the broken but brave ex-basketball captain, half pitying, half mocking. Two others sneered that his absence cost the school ranking points, still bitter about it. A bespectacled kid softly tried to calm them, but they snapped back that indirect blame still counts, and the grumbling continued. Hao Tian silently watched the crowd, eyes measuring each person. Bei Ming asked, "What are you staring at so hard?" Hao Tian calmly replied, "They're saying you're so pitiful your manhood probably shriveled too." Bei Ming turned with a creepy grin, making Hao Tian shiver, thinking, crap, what's he planning now? Hao Tian panicked and shouted a warning, but Bei Ming barked, "Shut up!" making everyone in the courtyard stare. The three boys gawked, thinking he'd gone crazy talking to himself, sneering that Bei Ming's brain must be lagging. Sai stormed in like a gust of wind, yelling threats to beat up the mockers, sending them fleeing in fear. One still shouted back, "Hiding behind a girl, how shameful for a man!" Hao Tian fumed, offering to punish them for Bei Ming. But Bei Ming coldly refused, admitting they weren't entirely wrong. He did share some blame. Hao Tian snorted, calling him a weakling with brains but no guts. Bei Ming retorted bitterly, "And you're any better than me?" Sai hesitantly stepped closer, surprised by Bei Ming's serious tone, softly calling, "Aiming." Bei Ming spun around, flustered and defensive. No, you've got it wrong, Sini! I wasn't talking about you, I just want to understand myself, not let others define me. He wiped his sweat, voice softening. Anyway, as long as you're here, that's enough. Sai blushed and smiled shyly, lowering her head. Then she asked seriously, "Aiming, where did that strange power come from? Is it dangerous? Should I go with you to the hospital?" Bei Ming scratched his head, forcing a laugh. "No need, I'm fine, see. Still intact." Inside, he vowed, "I can't let Shini be in danger again. That power, it's actually..." Bei Ming's mind spun in chaos. How could he tell her his power came from a talking dog? Just then, the loudspeaker blared. "Exam results are out!" The students rushed to see the board, and Bei Ming pointed, yelling loudly to dodge the awkward topic. Sai tried to ask more but was cut off. Bei Ming gently pushed her, saying quickly, "Go on, test results are important, I'll be right there." Sai sighed softly, nodded reluctantly, and walked off. Bei Ming watched her leave, trembling inside. That was close. Hao Tian opened his mouth to speak. Bei Ming snapped, "Don't bother me," and Hao Tian shot back, "You think I want to? This soul chain won't let me stray far." Bei Ming smirked, mocking, "So you're literally a leash dog, scared and still barking loud." Hao Tian growled, "Insolent brat, I've cultivated 1,000 years and eaten more things than you've ever seen." Bei Ming sneered, "Inhuman, you're a dog, what you expect filial piety now?" Making Hao Tian rage, arguing, "Older means elder." Bei Ming countered, "Older in what way?" Earning the furious reply, "In every way, obviously." Hao Tian grumbled along the way, warning that without him, Bei Ming would be eaten alive by demons. Then he bragged, saying Bei Ming owed him gratitude like to a second father. Bei Ming sighed, "With a dad like you, should I even bother being filial?" Hao Tian choked, furious at the uneducated brat, stomping his feet yet still dragged along by the magic chain. On the bulletin board, Class 53's midterm ranking appeared. Mo Rushu first, Tu Shi second. Everyone gasped in admiration. Hao Tian teased, "Hey, where's your name?" Bei Ming calmly pointed, "Down there." Seeing it, Hao Tian burst out laughing. "Ha! First from the bottom. Reverse genius?" Bei Ming yelled back, "I was hospitalized. Of course it's all zeros, better that than a mud who only barks." Hao Tian asked curiously, "So if you'd taken it, what rank could you get?" Bei Ming rested his chin, seriously pondering his missed classes and weakened condition. Bei Ming calmly said, "Maybe still near the bottom but never dead last." Hao Tian blinked, "You serious?" The classmates overheard and burst out laughing, mocking bottom-rank expert Bei Ming, until a familiar voice shouted his name loudly. The homeroom teacher sternly called, "Bei Ming, come with me." Stirring whispers, "Oh, teacher's here? Has doomed." Students whispered fake pity, saying the strict teacher would definitely expel him, poor guy, but he had it coming. In the office, the teacher said coldly, "The girl you saw last night is a distant relative, don't misunderstand or spread rumors." He continued, "By rules, any student ranking bottom 3 times in a row is expelled. You've hit that mark." Then, lowering his tone, he added, "But I'll give you another chance if you keep last night to yourself." Bei Ming bowed politely, surprising the teacher into a stiff smile. Inside, Bei Ming smirked, "So the man who wanted me gone now pretends to be kind." The teacher wiped sweat and stammered, No, just focus on your studies." Bei Ming grinned and asked slyly, "Oh, and that distant relative, she's real, right, teacher?" The teacher's face froze as he snapped quietly, "What did you say?" Bei Ming innocently replied, "I was home studying last night, you must be mistaken. If that's all, may I go?" The teacher stuttered, "Yes, go!" When Bei Ming left, the teacher stood trembling, face dark with rage. He gnashed his teeth, thinking, "That brat dared mock me. I'll kick him out soon enough." Hao Tian glanced at the teacher, then casually followed Bei Ming. On the way, he asked, "Hey, why stick around this dump of a school?" Then lectured in his ancient dog tone, "Drop out, rule the world with me. Being a shadow king beats homework, no." Bei Ming laughed coldly, "You've lived 1,000 years and still think like a kid. Conquer the world. Sounds like a movie villain. School's more than learning, it's my reason to keep standing." His face grew somber, voice heavy. "After all this, I've learned only one thing, never fall. Giving up means the end." Watching that steady back, Hao Tian fell silent, eyes softening. He thought, "This kid's tougher than I thought." Bei Ming entered the teacher's office, standing before a beautiful, strict woman named Tian, known for being both firm and alluring. She crossed her legs, adjusted her glasses, and asked coldly, "You've missed several days. Health issues?" Bei Ming flushed crimson, stammering, "Yes, Miss Tian." She softened, feeling better now. He mumbled, "Yes, much better." Hao Tian watched from the side, raising a brow. "Wait, is the brat crushing?" Seeing Bei Ming's tomatoed face, Hao Tian sensed something suspiciously hormonal. Miss Tian smiled warmly, reminding him to take care and promising to help with his studies. Bei Ming blushed harder, thanking her, while Hao Tian realized his motivation to study was just her beauty. Hao Tian blinked, wondering, didn't he say last night was all a joke? He sighed, pitying the love-struck teenager lost in emotional chaos. Suddenly, Hao Tian grew wary, sensing a strange aura surrounding Miss Tian. Bei Ming panicked, yelling at him to behave, face flushed with anger. Miss Tian calmly handed a paper to Hao Tian, telling Bei Ming to read it. He looked closely. It was a makeup exam application signed by the principal. She smiled kindly, saying she'd worked hard to get it approved and urged him to study diligently and ask for help anytime. She placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, softly encouraging him not to let her down. Bei Ming's heart pounded wildly, face scarlet as he bowed, and thanked her without daring to meet her eyes. Miss Tian told him to return to class, and Bei Ming obediently said goodbye. The two Hao Tian and Bei Ming left the office together. Bei Ming snapped at Hao Tian for his earlier behavior, warning him not to act indecent again. Hao Tian flared up, declaring he'd cultivated 1,000 years and was beyond mortal desires. Bei Ming tried to argue, but Hao Tian brushed it off, claiming his intentions were pure this time. Hao Tian then seriously advised caution, saying a strange aura surrounded Miss Tian. Bei Ming panicked she's a demon, but Hao Tian replied she was human. He added, however, that some kind of demonic taint seemed to cling to her. The air around Miss Tian darkened, revealing shadowy faces and eerie shapes. Bei Ming stood confused, unable to make sense of what was happening. He suddenly felt trapped in a nest of demons, their eyes gleaming as if he were prey. A blinding light shone down, leaving him stunned, wondering what was going on. It turned out to be car headlights. He realized he was standing before a car, not knowing why. Inside sat his late mother, and the horrifying scene was the car crash years ago, where he'd been both victim and cause. Bei Ming's mind spun, eyes filled with terror and despair, only faint hope flickering. He jolted awake, drenched in sweat, realizing he'd escaped yet another tormenting nightmare. He had dozed off again lately. All his dreams were strange and unsettling. Outside, flocks of crows gathered, cawing ominously like bearers of doom. Their red eyes burned like hellfire, all fixed on Bei Ming. One crow in particular stared straight at him, its gaze foreboding disaster. He felt a strange energy spreading around him, wondering if exam stress was frying his nerves. As Bei Ming brooded over the crows, the classroom door suddenly burst open. Heavy footsteps echoed someone was approaching. It was the homeroom teacher, face sour, making Bei Ming stammer a nervous greeting. The teacher slammed a stack of papers on the desk, arrogantly declaring he'd personally oversee the makeup exam, no cheating allowed. He went on, threatening expulsion for anyone caught copying. Strangely, Bei Ming smiled brightly, saying he was touched by the teacher's care and promised not to disappoint. The teacher froze, baffled by how convincingly the boy acted. Irritated, he banged the desk and signaled the start-the-wall clock tick to life. Suddenly, a loud noise rang out, making Bei Ming jump and cover his ears in confusion. It came again, this time from the school bell. The piercing sound sent the crows outside scattering wildly. Bei Ming winced, thinking the bell sounded strange today. Maybe his hearing had turned superhuman. The teacher scolded him to stop daydreaming and focus. Bei Ming calmed himself, probably just nerves and sleeplessness, and decided to concentrate on the test. He smiled confidently, believing Miss Tian's tutoring and his enhanced abilities would carry him through. But as he picked up the exam sheet, a bad feeling flooded his mind. He dropped his pen and paper, face pale. His mind was blank, as if wiped clean. He clutched his head in despair, cursing himself for losing all that power when he needed brains instead. The teacher barked at him to stop fooling around. Bei Ming just trembled and muttered, "Yes, sir." He glared at the paper, gritting his teeth, realizing his overconfidence had backfired badly. Bei Ming forced himself to stay calm, trying to summon buried memories to rescue his score. He bent over and began writing furiously, pen scratching in rhythm with passing time. 3 hours flashed by, one subject finished. The teacher coldly handed out the next test. Bei Ming sighed in relief, one down, but his heart sank at the new paper, though he tried to reassure himself he had some base knowledge. The final subject was history, his personal Achilles heel. One failure here, and he was doomed. Even so, Bei Ming had a secret survival plan ready in his mind. The homeroom teacher watched him pick up his pen and then set it down again, suspicion rising. He thought, why's the kid giving up before starting, planning to cheat? So he dragged his chair right next to Bei Ming's desk to monitor every move. He sat opposite, glaring like a duel of wills, giving no room for trickery. Bei Ming sweated, cursing silently, "If you're suspicious, at least don't make it obvious, you watchdog." He glanced at the clock. Time was running out. Suddenly, a crow slammed into the window with a deafening crash. Bei Ming spun around. It was the same crow that had been staring at him earlier. It shattered the glass, its eyes bleeding red with eerie malice. Bei Ming froze in horror, feeling his dark premonition come true. The entire flock dove at the windows, blood splattering the frame until it turned crimson. He trembled and asked, "Teacher, don't you think something's really wrong?" The terrified teacher, pale-faced but stubborn, barked, "Silence, even if the sky falls. Finish your exam." As soon as he spoke, the ground trembled violently. The whole school shook. Desks and chairs rattled, the two of them swaying with the quake. Beiming's legs shook, panic surging up his throat. He shouted in fear, "It's a real earthquake!" The school intercom crackled, announcing that the gym had collapsed and rescue was underway. The teacher gaped, muttering, "I was only joking, how did this come true?" Beiming pointed outside, urging, "Teacher, should we go help?" The man stubbornly refused, drenched in sweat, snapping, "Mind your business, finish the test." Trembling, he still yelled there was little time left and they'd leave after, making Beiming think, his guts are the size of the sky. A cold breeze suddenly brushed Beiming's neck, raising every hair on his body. He wondered, in this summer heat, how can there be such a chill? In seconds, the whole room filled with freezing air, like being locked in a freezer. Beiming whispered shakily, "Why is it getting colder and colder?" A sense of doom overwhelmed him. He regretted not leaving with Shy Ni earlier. He tried to keep writing, but his pen suddenly snapped in half. Beiming jolted, trembling, heart pounding like an omen of disaster. He leapt up, realizing Shi Ni was at the gym. The teacher frowned, thinking he was delusional. Beiming's sudden move startled the man so much he nearly fell off his chair, then shouted, "What are you doing?" Beiming answered firmly, "I have to go!" The teacher froze, staring at the blank test paper, fuming silently. He warned coldly, "Turning in a blank paper will get you expelled. I'm telling you now." Beiming clenched his fists, lips tight, eyes darkening. He bowed his head, muttered something, then looked up calmly, saying, "Teacher." Before the man could react, Beiming grinned cheerfully, holding out his hand. "Sir, did you drop 100 yuan? I found it." The teacher's eyes lit up, coughing awkwardly. "Money. Let me see." Beiming flicked his fingers. A small object shot through the air with a flash. Everything happened exactly as he planned. The teacher, not seeing any money, exploded in anger, unaware something was coming from behind. Thud! An eraser struck the back of his head with the force of a hammer. He groaned, eyes rolling back, body twitching violently. Then he collapsed unconscious into Beiming's arms. The boy murmured, "Sorry, you got caught in this." He sat the teacher upright, whispering, "Rest for a bit, you'll be fine when you wake." Inside, Beiming knew this was far beyond a normal earthquake. He bolted out of the classroom, abandoning the exam, with only one thought: to save Si Ni at the gym. But, as he reached the hallway, the sight before him left him utterly speechless. The hallway was shrouded in heavy black mist, cold and reeking of evil. Before he could react, the ground rippled as something slithered out of the dark. Seconds later, hordes of grotesque demons appeared, grinning madly as they charged at him. Beiming took a stance and roared, "You jerks wrecking the gym again. Get lost, I've got no time for trash!" The monsters just snorted in reply, until a sharp voice shouted from behind, "Hey kid, what mess did you make this time?" Beiming spun around to see Ha Tianquan appear. He yelled, "You damn mutt! Took you long enough! I was about to grow moss waiting!" Ha Tianquan bristled, "You dare complain? I almost lost my soul in the teacher's office finding your answers." Beiming apologized and asked about the result. The dog replied coolly, "None." Beiming could only curse in despair. He immediately dropped the exam talk. Monsters were invading the school, grades could wait. But when he turned around, the corridor was calm again, leaving Beiming confused. Haoquan simply said, "They ran off." "Forget them," Haoquan added. "Look out the window." Beiming pressed his face to the glass, puzzled. What's out there? The sight stole his breath, a massive being glowing with fierce purple light, its power swirling like a storm. Haoquan said gravely, "If it were just a demon, that'd be easy, but that thing is a god." Beiming gaped. "A god? You sure? I can sense pure evil from it?" He couldn't believe gods even existed in this demon-infested world. Haoquan explained calmly, "Many gods who broke divine laws were exiled here, hiding among humans." He continued, "But this one shows its true form and radiates corruption. It means something deeper." Beiming asked, "A secret?" Haoquan nodded. "Yes, gods have divine souls, they shouldn't get tainted." Then the white dog thought, "No, that sentence not chaos energy, it's just like Teacher Diane's aura." Beiming suddenly shouted, "Wait, the place that God stands?" His face tensed. "It's right above the gym, so that's the source of it all." He dashed off, yelling, "I must save my knee. If she's harmed, I'll tear it apart." Haoquan tried to stop him. "You idiot! Calm down. Facing it now is suicide." But before he could act, a piercing scream echoed from outside, making both turn at once. Looking at the giant creature, Beiming saw it writhing in agony, its roar full of pain. Suddenly, a cross-shaped crack appeared on its head, spewing bright purple light. The fissure widened, revealing countless fangs and a chilling hiss echoing everywhere. Thick streams of dark red slime gushed out like boiling blood. As he ran, Beiming couldn't help but quip, "What the hell? Stomachache so bad your head explodes." But then the so-called god crumbled into glowing ash and vanished, leaving both stunned. Haoquan looked up, realization dawning. "So that's it matches the scent I caught last night at school." He declared, "Everything started right here, in this school." By then, smoke had swallowed the city, and the school was nothing but eerie rubble. Near the ruins, a group dressed entirely in black stood guard, as if waiting for something. Someone tried to call 119 for help, but a cold, metallic hand grabbed his wrist. A man in black snatched the phone, growling, "No calls, we'll handle this." The two students protested. Give it back. We're just calling firefighters to save people. Who are you to stop us? His friend added, yeah. Not saving anyone and blocking others, what's your problem? But the men in black quickly surrounded the boys, making them break out in cold sweat. One said flatly, we're not hurting you, just keeping you here. Just then, a shout made everyone turn my knee. It was Bei Ming's voice, his face darkening as he yelled, get out of my way! A second line of black-clad men blocked him. Bei Ming screamed, she's still inside, let me save my knee! But they coldly replied, this area is sealed off, no entry. They dragged him back as he thrashed wildly, shouting, let go! What the hell are you people doing? One of them glanced at Bei Ming's leg and sneered inwardly, so as crippled. Rage exploded, Bei Ming flung the man off, broke free, and shouted, me knee! But after 2 steps, another man grabbed his neck and slammed him to the ground. The man barked, told you not to resist. Well, handle this. Got it. Cripple. Bei Ming gritted his teeth, retorting, you can't even bring rescue gear, and you call that handling it? Students nearby whispered in fear. Bei Ming's nuts is fighting gangsters. Guys got guts. We're just shaking here, pathetic. Grown men bullying a crippled student, no shame at all. The crowd suddenly chanted, this is a school, not a gang hideout! Get out! Get out of our school! Their voices echoed across the yard. But the black-clad men only smirked, their threats sending the students backing off pale-faced. Sweat poured off Bei Ming as he clenched his jaw, ready to unleash his hidden power. The man pinning him felt it too, heart pounding, what the hell. His energy's spiking! Just as the power was about to erupt, Hao Tianquan's voice echoed in his mind. Hey, you stubborn brat. I'd love for you to teach them a lesson. Hao Quan warned, but showing your power here, you trying to get expelled. Bei Ming growled, who cares? If mine is hurt, what's the point of staying in school? The man on top of him blinked, this guy's crazy talking to himself. Suddenly he froze as massive energy waves surged around him. A violent force shook the ground, dust rising as if an earthquake had struck. From the haze, a monstrous clawed foot slammed down. It was Bei Ming transformed. He shot forward like lightning, leaving only stunned faces behind. Only one thought echoed in his mind, my knee, don't fall, I'm coming! The shockwave dropped the black-clad men to their knees, coughing. What the hell just happened? That dust was at that kid. Impossible! He's crippled! Then a shadowy figure emerged through the swirling smoke. One man yelled, got you, brat? But his hand grabbed only air. Bei Ming's form vanished like a mirage. He'd circled behind, landing a knockout blow that dropped his foe instantly. The others called out, hey, you there, answer me! Before the words ended, one took a punch to the gut and collapsed. It was Bei Ming again. Felling 2, he thought fast, gotta clear these idiots before they block me again. In the gray mist, the black-clad men fell one after another, no time to scream. Bei Ming scanned the area sternly, 2 left. The last 2 raged, useless fools, getting wrecked by a high schooler! One drew his gun, shouting, it'll blow his head off, but was stopped by his partner. Are you insane? This is a school. Want a murder charge? We're guards, not killers! Frustrated, the gunman shoved the weapon away, pulling out a stun baton. Fine, it'll fry him instead! But when he turned, he saw the other man frozen like a statue, silent. He barked again, hey, cat got your tongue or what? At that instant, Bei Ming appeared behind him, gripping his head like a demon. The man struggled, pressing the stun baton to Bei Ming's neck and yelling, die, cripple! Sparks flew, but Bei Ming just smirked. These AA batteries supposed to tickle me. The man broke into a cold sweat. Impossible! I hit him straight in the head, no effect! He stammered, what the hell are you? Bei Ming raised his fist and struck, saying coolly, a cripple but not useless. The gym was nothing but wreckage, unrecognizable. As Bei Ming ran and shouted, Hao Tian grumbled, cursing fate yet still helping. The white dog reported, 15 people under the rubble, weak but alive. The stones are just too heavy. It added, black mist still leaking. Bei Ming roared, forget the miasma, save them first. No time to wait for rescue! He clenched his fists, determined to dig barehanded if he had to, eyes burning like molten steel. Exhausted, Bei Ming forced a deep breath, focusing to sense the life below. His eyes snapped open, gaze fixed on the faint signs of life. He lifted a boulder the size of a mountain and tossed it aside like a pebble. The stone crashed down with a thunderous boom. He clawed through the debris, digging like a hunting hound. Onlookers trembled at the rumble, thinking the ground was collapsing again. Dust swirled thickly around Bei Ming in chaotic clouds. Mud and sweat covered his face, and he thought, they must be down here. He strained, roaring as he lifted another massive slab. Inch by inch, the huge rock rose. The earth quivered faintly, his strength nearing the limit. Hao Tian broke into a sweat, stunned that human hands could lift tons of stone. At last, the boulder rose above his head, a symbol of his unyielding will. He braced it on his back and shouted hoarsely, me Nia! The girl saw him like light amid ashes, tears welling. Covered in dirt, Bei Ming still smiled, comforting her, don't worry, I'm here! Sirens wailed as ambulances arrived. The schoolyard was a cratered ruin left by demons. A man stepped forward, and the students exclaimed, the principal's back! A teacher asked in surprise why he'd left the meeting. The principal replied firmly, with the school wrecked, what's there to meet about? I came straight back! As the smoke cleared, students supported each other out, tired but tender. Beiming led Mini, wary but with bright eyes. The crowd cheered, pointing. He really saved them. Some doubted, others admired. Talk of Beiming rippled like waves. Nurses rushed with stretchers, carrying the injured away. The principal raised his hand in thanks, praising Beiming before everyone. Beiming scratched his head, blushing. I just wanted to help my Nai, sir. Mai Ni remembered him lifting her up, her heart swelling with emotion. Shed asked about his power, but he brushed it off, urging her to save others first. Before leaving, he told Mai Ni to keep his ability secret for everyone's safety. He blamed himself quietly, thinking he might have caused the disaster. Mai Ni pondered, realizing there must be deeper reasons, and chose not to ask more. The principal patted Beiming's shoulder, praising his bravery despite his wounds. The students applauded. Those who mocked him earlier now bowed in shame. The principal reassured everyone to stay calm and safe. He explained it as a construction accident, promising investigation, and introduced a special unit to secure the site. A teacher stepped in, telling students to go home while the staff handled the rest. Hao Tian eyed the principal and sensed a strange purple aura, dark and ominous. The demonic aura made him dizzy, yet strangely thrilled. He thought, such dense energy could boost my power, or even unlock my sealed strength, lips curling in scheming delight. The sky stayed gray as Beiming asked Mini why she wasn't in the ambulance. She said, it was just scratches. He insisted she get checked anyway, and she reluctantly agreed. Her friend teased that they were like childhood sweethearts, making Mini blush and deny it. Seeing her red face, Beiming worriedly asked if she was okay, while she secretly thought he was too kind. She murmured she was fine, seeing Beiming as a dear brother, and that was enough. Hao Tian suddenly spoke up, saying they couldn't leave yet, the matter wasn't over. He reminded Beiming of what that angel had vomited out. Beiming rubbed his chin, sensing a strange aura. Then he realized it was a demon in disguise. Hao Tian confirmed, saying the monsters were still around campus. Beiming panicked, told Mini to go ahead to the hospital, and ran back. Hao Tian watched, smirking at how easily Beiming got stirred up. He mused that righteousness and compassion were the easiest weaknesses to exploit. Hao Tian's voice echoed in the air. Only Beiming hearing, wait for me, you stubborn brat. In another building, light footsteps climbed to the highest step. The night wind brushed through someone's white hair flowing in the mist. A girl stood atop the roof, gazing down at the smoke-shrouded school. She whispered, coming to catch me, are they? Night fell over the campus as a girl's voice told scary stories about the gym collapse. By the fountain, two couples chatted sweetly, one pair flirted awkwardly amid the calm night. The girl stood up, smiling, telling her boyfriend to wait, she needed the restroom. He waved cheerfully, voice light as a dream date. He watched her go, heart floating with joy at his adorable girlfriend. He sat waiting, with only falling leaves and splashing water for company. Time passed, his phone lit up, but she hadn't returned, making him anxious. Hearing footsteps, he brightened, thinking she was back, and called out happily. He stepped forward, smiling wide, ready to hug her. But when he looked up, he froze. The face before him was upside down, eyes glowing purple like a demon. His words caught in his throat, breath turning to ice. Before him, Li had become a half-human, half-tentacled monster, her lower body a gaping maw of teeth. She grinned madly, voice dripping and eerie. Come on, kiss me. The boy screamed, a ghost, and ran, but she grabbed his neck, freezing cold. The creature shrieked, laughing and crying. It hurts so good! His screams merged with her madness, echoing through the dark campus. Suddenly, a cold female voice chanted a spell, hand Bing Jolion! Ice flowers spiraled around the monster's arm, shining with frigid blue light. Shards of ice sliced its arm off, spraying purple blood across the tiles. The monster howled in fury, demanding to know who attacked. From above, a figure descended, cold air spreading as she said, too late. A girl with icy blue hair appeared, eyes full of disdain, casting ice magic. Remember this chill, it's the last thing you'll feel before you vanish. Insulted, the monster laughed mockingly. Moru Shu, the school's ice queen, still full of empty words. Dozen tentacles shot toward her like a midnight storm. Morushu calmly chanted, raising a shining ice barrier that blocked every strike. She glared coldly. If those are your last words, I accept them. Water from the fountain rose, swirling violently around her arm. It gathered into a massive orb, from whose core burst a dazzling beam of light. The light solidified into an ice sword, Bing Xia Shenyuan, and she murmured, you want death, ill grant it. The monster froze, realizing she was a night beast from the Zhongmingju organization, growling as it prepared to die fighting. Morushu gripped her sword and lunged forward like a blue flash. Icy sword trails wove a web of frost in the air, slicing through the tentacles. She landed softly, behind her a heap of melting limbs and purple blood staining the stone. Roshu lifted her gaze, calm amid glittering ice shards. Far away, Beiming and Hao Tian were racing toward the surge of demonic aura. Beiming panted, why did the aura vanish? Hao Tian replied, someone struck before us. Beiming blinked. Someone else here has powers. Hao Tian grumbled, gods, demons, espers, this world's full of them. Just means one more rival. Beiming stayed calm. If we share a goal, that's an ally. Hao Tian pointed ahead. Look, Morushu was clutching the monster's head, surrounded by thick icy mist. Beiming gawked, stammering, "That's..." Then sharp ice pillars burst from the ground, encircling them from Rushu's direction. Feeling the killing chill, Beiming frowned. Not good. Before him stood the cold-faced girl, eyes unblinking. Beiming squinted, unable to recall her, though she wore the same school uniform. Hao Tian sighed, goldfish memory, unbelievable. The air grew heavy between them, silence thick enough to choke. Hao Tian glanced over, unsure if his friend was dumb or just pretending. Rushu crossed her arms, voice cold, "You carry demonic aura but weak. For saving people, it'll spare you once." Beiming frowned. "Wait, what?" Hao Tian added. "What the heck is she mumbling?" Morushu narrowed her eyes, tone sharp as blades. "Too bad for you, learned my secret. Now you die." She slashed instantly. Beiming jumped back, shouting, "Who even are you?" He yelled, "We don't even know each other. Why are you trying to cut me in half?" Rushu ignored him, her strikes faster and fiercer. A wave of ice blades swept by. Beiming dove back, snow dust exploding. He gasped, shouting, "You swing that sword like you're chopping down my whole family tree!" Rushu's fury rose. "Insolent brat," she snapped while Beiming scrambled. "Wait, classmate, can we talk first?" He panted, trying to make peace, but she stayed colder than frost. Rushu frowned slightly. He dodged too well. Luck or skill? She spotted an opening, lips curling. "Got you." She spun, unleashing a decisive slash. "Let's end this." But her blade was blocked. The glowing mechanical arm of Beiming flared, flames halting her strike. Rushu froze, barehanded block. "Impossible!" In Beiming's hand somehow was her student card. He read aloud, "Mo Rushu, class 33. Rushu's eyes widened in shock as she stepped back. She leapt away, keeping a cautious distance, face tense. Beiming smiled innocently. "So we're in the same grade. You sure hit hard for a classmate." She frowned, thinking, when did he even take my ID? Beiming suddenly exclaimed, "Ah, I get it!" He whispered to Hao Tian, "She's mad because I didn't recognize her, hurt her pride. She's famous, the ice goddess, you know." Hao Tian groaned, "Your brain's frostbitten too, huh?" Beiming turned serious, "You're strong, I underestimated you." But before he could finish, ice shards shot toward him. He shielded himself. Rushu's voice was icy. "Now I'll show my true power." Hao Tian instantly sensed the shift, eyes narrowing. "That aura, saintess!" High above, Morushu hovered amid a blizzard, a massive snowflake sigil glowing behind her, freezing the sky itself. Beiming trembled. "Saintess, who's that?" Hao Tian replied grimly, "The deity of frost and ice." Beiming gaped, "What? She's an actual god!" Morushu raised her hand, voice glacial, "Be buried." Instantly, thousands of icy spikes rained down her ultimate rose snowfall. Beiming rolled desperately, barely avoiding becoming a frozen statue. From the sky, ice pillars speared the ground with bone-cracking sounds. He shouted while running, "Wait, let me explain!" But snow kept pouring like a blizzard. The ice shards seemed alive, chasing him relentlessly. Beiming cried to Hao Tian, "Do something! Why are you just standing there?" Hao Tian frowned, mind spinning. How could divine power exist in a mortal? Meanwhile, Beiming wailed, "Mercy, O goddess," forcing Hao Tian to cover his ears, muttering, noisy as thunder. Finally, the white dog barked, "Quit whining! Charge straight through, brat!" Beiming sprinted toward a tall wall and, following orders, gathered power to dash headfirst. He kicked off the wall, running upward as if on a vertical floor. He screamed, "Medran ancestors, back me up this once!" He slid along the wall, ice spears grazing his heels. Beiming yelled, "Don't you know I'm all about peace?" Then he flipped backward, letting himself fall freely. Morushu said coldly, "Weak is weak. Stop making excuses." She swept her hand. An ice storm erupted, flooding the area in white light. Beiming shouted, "You've got it all wrong!" He kicked the falling ice shards, embedding them into a glowing circle around Rushu. The ring of frost shimmered, forming a reversed ice barrier. Beiming appeared before her, panting but forcing a grin. Rushu narrowed her eyes. "What trick now?" Beiming raised his hands innocently. "Please, goddess, I'm a good guy here to help." He flashed a grin. "You've got the power, I've got the charm, let's team up peacefully." "Yeah." Rushu replied flatly, "Nonsense." Her sword flared again, thrusting straight at his face. She said evenly, "Demon or man, all must die." She leapt, swinging a lightning-fast slash, but Beiming barely blocked it. Just as they were about to clash to the death, a deep voice boomed, "What is happening here?" Both turned. The possessed male student stood there again, eyes glowing purple. "Night beast," he rasped, "you dare defy me." Rushu froze. "Impossible, I sliced you apart?" The monster grinned hideously. "Ha ha, fascinating." The ground quaked, water erupted as a massive demon emerged, its body covered in black tentacles, shaking the schoolyard. The creature bared jagged teeth, mocking humans for challenging a god. Morushu muttered in confusion, while Hao Tian frowned. He knew that aura. Beiming asked if he recognized the beast. Hao Tian confirmed. "It was once the sacred serpent of Guangmu Tianwang of the West," he said, "but I forgot its name." Beiming groaned. Hao Tian thought harder now. It had evolved into a full divine serpent. But strangely, its head was gone. Morushu drew her sword again, determined to slay the beast, god or demon. Harm was harm. She spun and slashed at it, but her blade couldn't pierce its iron scales. It didn't even flinch. Her sword shattered, and she stared in disbelief at its toughness. As she faltered, the serpent's tail whipped from behind. She barely reacted in time, conjuring an ice shield. But the strike was too strong, the shield shattered, and she was hurled away. She thought bitterly, so this is divine power. I'm still far too weak. Falling helplessly, her mind flashed with the image of her beloved elder sister. Seeing that, Bei Ming shot into the air like lightning. He caught Rushu midfall, joking, "Easy there, goddess, take a breath." He landed smoothly with her in his arms. Smiling, he said, "Leave the fighting to the men." Rushu blushed, heart skipping a beat. She stammered for Bei Ming to put her down. Her feet lightly touched the ground. Bei Ming said firmly, "Step back, you'll handle this fight." She nodded shyly, and he grinned, "Okay." Facing the giant serpent, Bei Ming shouted to Hao Tian to get ready. He roared and charged like a storm. Unfortunately, he slipped on ice and slammed his head miserably. He rolled right to the serpent's face, leaving it momentarily puzzled. Then the beast whipped him repeatedly while he was face down. The sight made Rushu tremble, trying not to laugh. Hao Tian turned away in shame, unable to watch. Bei Ming yelled, pushing the serpent off and declaring he'd had enough. Bruised but conscious, he said it was just a small misstep. He grabbed the serpent's body and slammed it down. "Don't think him easy prey!" The hit made the divine serpent groan, flattened against the ground. Rushu gaped, unable to believe Aming's brute strength. He kept smashing the beast until it wailed in despair. Aming grabbed its tail, shouting the name of his final move. He spun it like a tornado, his great serpent cyclone. He twirled so fast he got dizzy himself. Finally, he hurled the massive serpent skyward. He yelled to Rushu, "Now, finish it!" She nodded, chanting an ice spell, praying to the frost god for sealing power. With a frigid face, she uttered the final words, "Bing Dong Jiyu." The spell burst forth, freezing the serpent midair in chains of ice. Its body solidified completely, a colossal statue of frost. Hao Tian thought, she really wields Saintess-level magic, no ordinary girl. The frozen serpent crashed down, shaking heaven and earth. Aming admired the icy sculpture, teasing, "Would make a fine school monument, huh?" Rushu replied coolly, "No need. Someone will come dispose of it." Aming smiled wide, waving, "Can we talk civilly now, goddess?" She turned away coldly. "There's nothing for us to discuss." She glanced back, sneering that she'd spare his life this time. The two guys were stunned, annoyed yet amused by her arrogance, strangely charmed. Suddenly, cracks spread across the serpent's ice shell, glowing violently. Rushu gasped, her eternal frost prison was breaking. Aming felt dark energy surge and shouted a warning. He dashed forward, shoving her aside but taking the impaling strike through his chest. Rushu screamed his name in panic and despair. She grabbed the serpent's tail that pierced him, raging in fury. Aming gritted his teeth, yanking the spike out, cursing his bad luck at always being the one hurt. Rushu asked worriedly, but he barked for her to stay back. The monster wasn't done. Aming staggered toward the serpent, channeling energy for another strike. He chuckled darkly, voice distorted like a demon's, muttering strange human philosophy. The serpent transformed half man, half snake, boasting of its newfound hybrid power. Aming frowned and slapped its face hard in rage. He roared, throwing a mighty punch. "Villains die from talking too much!" But the demon serpent caught the blow easily, grinning. "You are strong indeed." Aming's eyes widened, his full-force punch had been stopped like a breeze. The serpent smirked evilly, signaling the battle's nearing end. It crushed his arm in its grip, pain freezing him in place. The serpent's maw unleashed stormy blows upon him. Aming screamed in desperate agony. He thought bitterly how small he was before such divine power. The relentless punches flung him far, crashing to the ground. Hao Tian rushed over in panic, shouting if he was okay. Aming rasped that today neither of them might survive. He admitted that gods weren't foes mortals could defeat. Hao Tian roared, calling him weak, but Aming warily told him to shut it. He lay motionless, bleeding, body shattered and bones cracking. Hao Tian clenched his fist, furious at power beyond human reach. Suddenly Aming's body froze in a shell of icy frost. He whispered that Shu was freezing his blood to save his life. She turned away, saying this fight wasn't his to fight. Aming shouted, begging her to flee while he drew the monster's attention. Sue smiled softly, saying death was her destined mission. She summoned an ice sword, declared fate ruled life and death, then charged in. She moved so fast he only saw a white blur and screamed helplessly. The serpent demon sneered, mocking the Shensho clan for daring to defy a god. Mo Rushu was bound by its coils as it scorned mortals' hopelessness. Aming roared furiously, ordering it to release her. He snapped at Hao Tian to think fast instead of boasting uselessly. Hao Tian said grimly there was one way, his spirit must merge with Aming's body. Aming suspected body snatching, making Hao Tian retort he'd begged for it. Hao Tian shrugged, saying fine, then they died together. Meanwhile Shu was being crushed, breath fading under the serpent's bulk. Aming cursed him as trouble but chose to trust, lending his body to slay the beast. A sly grin flickered in Hao Tian's mind, the long-awaited chance had come. A bolt of lightning struck between them, splitting the sky. The flash turned the heavens into fiery orange. The explosion cracked the earth and stirred wild storms. From the blinding light stepped a figure laughing arrogantly. The spirit serpent gaped, sensing its foe's power skyrocket. The divine beast now possessed the wounded youth, laughing in delight. He wore crimson robes, beast ears, and a golden collar. His form changed: silver hair, wolf ears, foxtail, red tattoos, and golden chains sparking. He laughed, mocking Ming's naivety had only feigned weakness all along. Now sharing one body, Ming screamed in fury and hurled Shu aside to fight. The serpent roared, launching 6 fanged tendrils at Hao Tian to rip him apart. From his newly formed arm, Hao Tian coolly asked, "Human, hardly." The attacks bounced off harmlessly. Hao Tian smirked and told it to behold his true self. The serpent froze, trembling, then gasped, "Big brother Hao Tian!" Hao Tian smiled. "Long time no see, Xiaohua." He teased, recalling the cute little serpent with big eyes and 3 tails. It murmured that childish folly led to this fate. The serpent confessed it had been captured and decapitated by humans after fleeing heaven. Hao Tian sneered, mocking how weak it was to be caught by mortals. The serpent snarled that his eyes held Guangmu Tianwang's power, so humans wanted to forge them into artifacts. He urged Hao Tian to join in avenging humanity's crimes, but Hao Tian's cold reply echoed revenge. The serpent burst into manic laughter like a lunatic. Hao Tian brushed his hair back, sneering that avenging weak mortals was absurd. The serpent fell silent, eyes dim, fists clenched in disappointment. Hao Tian raised a finger to his lips and declared arrogantly, "I alone can destroy the world." The serpent roared, vowing revenge anyway, eyes bleeding red as tendrils lashed out. Hao Tian burned in black red flame, mocking that even beheading hadn't taught the fool anything. His foxdemon form gleamed as he said the body was his now but had honored his promise. Demons. The serpent growled that though he respected his brother, he still believed he could win. Hao Tian laughed madly and struck back with earth-shaking fury. The impact split the ground, sending rocks flying everywhere. Hao Tian mocked that reverence meant nothing before overwhelming power. The serpent screamed and hurled itself into reckless assault. Suddenly golden vines bound its head, and it shouted, "What the hell is this?" It paled, seeing they were ghost soldiers, skeleton warriors Hao Tian had summoned. Hao Tian laughed, saying swallowing a few ghost soldiers was no big deal. He bragged about devouring Yama in hell and biting gods in heaven for dessert. The serpent glared, snapping, "Fine, let's see who gets eaten today." It leaped up, flaring with purple light fused with ancient celestial energy. The power racked its body in agony as it howled. The spirit core inside blazed, scorching him from within. The serpent gasped. His foe contained a fragment of an ancient sun talisman. Hao Tian grinned wickedly. "Yeah, burned a bit going down," then unleashed the blast. Morushu slowly awoke, head throbbing, disoriented. She saw a familiar yet strange figure, Bei Ming, now radiating demonic aura. Xiaohua's scream cut through her daze. The little serpent was under ghost soldier attack. Flames devoured Xiaohua's body as its cries echoed. Hao Tian scowled, annoyed, barking, "Fine, it'll end your misery now." He summoned all ghost soldiers to encircle him. A thick black mist surged out, engulfing Xiaohua. The serpent froze in terror, eyes wide, body paralyzed. Time seemed to slow as fate tightened its grip. Hao Tian absorbed the dark aura, clutching Xiaohua's soul orb, declaring it too dangerous to live. Yet he sighed, almost regretful for their past bond. Smirking, he lifted the soul to his lips, saying Xiaohua would now be part of him. Then he swallowed it whole, eyes gleaming with delight. Hao Tian's eyes widened as he sensed a familiar ancient scent. Dark energy burst from him, thrilled by the overflowing power. He stretched and laughed. "Now that's divine cuisine!" his voice booming through the void. Morushu stood frozen, horrified that Bei Ming before her was no longer the same man. Hao Tian licked his lips, craving more, wondering how many gods were left to feast on. Then, he remembered there was still one living deity right before him. He slowly turned, eyes blazing toward Morushu. She trembled as he appeared before her in an instant, gaze devouring. He smirked, lifting her chin, whispering, "Be my woman and maybe I won't eat you." Shu blushed furiously, slapped him, scolding his madness, unaware Bei Ming's body was possessed. Hao Tian dodged smoothly, smirking that mortal girls were truly amusing. She attacked in rage, but he dodged easily, teasing her heartbeat betrayed her words. Morushu's ears burned red as she snapped, "Shut up, you pervert!" She hurled an icy sword that spun like a freezing gale toward him. He said softly, "You misunderstand me, beauty." With that, he lunged like lightning, impossibly fast. Laughing, he said, "This isn't a request, it's an order." Though shouting at him, Shu's heart fluttered in confused shame. She screamed, turning her hands into ice blades to kill the lustful demon. But before she struck, Hao Tian caught her wrist, crushing the blade with one hand. She gasped as he pulled her close and suddenly kissed her. Blood rushed to her face as he drained her power through the kiss. Her strength faded, body limp, trapped helplessly in his arms. In his mindscape, clanging chains woke Bei Ming. He looked around blankly, mumbling in confusion. His body was bound tight by countless freezing chains. He struggled, but they wouldn't budge. Metallic echoes and crumbling stone filled the void. He shouted, cursing Hao Tian and straining to break free uselessly. Grimacing, he yelled that he'd never let that thief steal his body. He fought till breathless, yet the chains held firm. A cold voice said, "Don't bother, you can't escape." Startling Bei Ming, it was Hao Tian. Hao Tian calmly said he didn't plan to kill him, just borrow the body, urging obedience or risk self-destruction again. Bei Ming's energy surged, shattering nearby rocks. He roared, breaking the chains with sheer will. Furious, he gripped a fragment and screamed Hao Tian's name. "I'll make you pay today," his voice thundered. Hao Tian gaped, shocked by the boy's overwhelming aura. His hair stood on end, danger filled the air. Still acting proud, he shouted, "This is my domain! You can't win here!" He snarled that the boy was too green to rule this place. Hao Tian summoned a swarm of demons to attack like a tidal wave. Bei Ming clenched his fists, unleashing a surge of crimson power. In an instant, the red blast incinerated all demons to ash. Hao Tian froze, recognizing the divine heavenly punishment lightning. He demanded how Bei Ming could possibly wield such a holy spell. Bei Ming blinked, confused, then taunted, "Less talk, more fight!" Hao Tian backed off, suspicious the power felt like Yang Jun's. Impossible for a mortal! He roared, "Even so, this is my body!" Bei Ming just smirked, hands in pockets. Hao Tian explained he hadn't eaten gods, but trapped them in the devouring void space that consumed all. He laughed proudly, saying even gods were helpless there, so Bei Ming should be grateful to live forever inside it. Bei Ming shrugged, mocking, "You insult my intelligence, who'd believe that nonsense?" Hao Tian's face stiffened as he muttered, "This time I mean it." Bei Ming stepped forward, fists clenched, declaring, "Enough talk. I'll reclaim my body whatever it takes." He lunged with a lightning punch, shouting Hao Tian's name. But Hao Tian turned into black smoke, vanishing before his eyes. Bei Ming roared in fury, cursing the cowardly dog for running away. Hao Tian shifted form, grinning slyly as he declared the body his, then vanished. Bei Ming, enraged, smashed everything around with a mighty punch. When the power faded, only ruins and dust remained. Water pooled across the debris, marked by Bei Ming's lonely footprints. He trudged onward, panting heavily, utterly exhausted. He wondered how long he'd been wandering. He admitted the mutt was right, this place couldn't be broken by strength. A chill of fear crept in. What if he was trapped here forever? He slumped down, despairing, wishing only for Mai-Ni's safety. With a soft apology, he closed his eyes and drifted to sleep. A strange voice echoed, startling Bei Ming awake. He looked around, confused, searching for the caller. Seeing no one, he doubted his senses. Then the voice came again. He froze, whispering in shock. From afar, a cute little fox peeked out, asking for help. Then a white rabbit appeared amid the rubble, eyes shimmering pleadingly. Bei Ming gawked. Was that a talking rabbit? He joked had pulled up carrots, not rabbits, while suspecting it might be a demon. He asked its story, and the rabbit said it was Jade Rabbit from Guanghan, fallen when Change had an accident. It continued, saying half the Moon Palace was swallowed here, burying it under lunar soil. Bei Ming cheered that he was the first man on the moon, only to be scolded to help dig it out first. He hesitated, fearing a trap. Once bitten by Hao Tian, twice shy. The rabbit smiled, assuring him death didn't exist here, only eternal life, leaving him doubtful. It offered a deal, save it, and he'd get one wish, even meet Change herself. Bei Ming turned pale, refusing the matchmaking, but agreed to help out of sympathy. He grabbed the rabbit's ears and yanked, making it yelp in pain. He snapped, "I haven't even started yet, why scream already?" The rabbit blushed, saying its ears were sensitive, making him apologize awkwardly. He switched to grabbing its head, inhaled deeply, and shouted, "Let's do this!" He pulled with all his might, mud splattering everywhere. The rabbit wailed, begging him to pull faster. Bei Ming growled that the noise was distracting. The rabbit protested it really hurt. He cursed his own weakness for failing such a simple task. Clenching his teeth, he kept pulling with relentless effort. After a long struggle, the ground began to crack while the rabbit weakened visibly. Finally, he yanked it free so hard it flew skyward. The rabbit crashed down, causing a thunderous explosion. As the smoke cleared, its shape became visible. It had six-pack abs and muscles like a gym god. Winking, it thanked him and promised a wish, making Bei Ming spit in disbelief at the cute face bodybuilder combo. He wiped sweat, still stunned by the bizarre contrast. Rabbit Ben explained its body evolved underground, then asked his wish. Bei Ming hesitated, doubting its power, but putting his last hope in it. After pondering, he asked it to destroy the devouring void. The rabbit pretended to forget, teasing until Bei Ming yelled in frustration. Then it turned serious, saying escaping the void was nearly impossible. Bei Ming seized on nearly, asking if someone had actually escaped. The rabbit nodded yes, only one person ever had. At that name, its eyes glowed with reverence, as if speaking of a divine legend. In its mind appeared Erlang Shenyang Jian, radiant in armor and wielding his sacred weapon. Bei Ming saw the rabbit's dreamy face and thought, yep, total fanboy. Guess that guy's the strong and handsome type that makes everyone else look bad. Suddenly, a huge rock exploded, debris flying everywhere. The rabbit said only one, who could draw that sword, could shatter the devouring void. Bei Ming gaped, and the rabbit proudly declared it was a relic beyond mortal craft. It introduced the Qing Jianma sword once wielded by Yang Jian to slay countless demons, its power immense. It recalled many had tried pulling it free, none succeeded. Anyone who touched the blade was thrown back, gravely injured. The rabbit warned Bei Ming to give up before he got himself killed. Then it froze wide-eyed as Bei Ming pulled the sword out as easily as a carrot. The rabbit panicked, wondering what sort of freak this boy really was. Bei Ming smirked, saying it was all overhype. He twirled the sword, unimpressed, asking what came next. Then he raised it skyward and shouted, "Grant me power!" while the rabbit blankly froze. A beam of light struck him, making him scream. The rabbit jumped, panicking if he was okay. Instead, Bei Ming slammed the sword into the ground, feeling power surge within. Instead of pain, it felt strangely familiar, leaving the rabbit in awe. The rabbit instructed him to fuse heart and sword, then he could cleave space itself. Bei Ming squinted, asking, "Use my heart, really?" He placed the blade to his chest. The rabbit nodded approvingly, saying to feel it with his soul. Focusing deeply, his heartbeat synced with the sword, echoing thunderously. The Janma sword shook free, shooting skyward in a blinding flash. Both he and the rabbit stared upward, bewildered. The blade pierced through the smoky sky. It spun above, tracing radiant halos of light. The rabbit wondered what it was doing. Bei Ming guessed it was celebrating freedom. Suddenly, the sword dove straight down. Bei Ming panicked. The tip aimed right at him. It halted before his face but kept inching closer, making his heart race. He yelled, "Wait, hold on a sec!" But instead of striking, it rotated gently, presenting its hilt. He blinked. Was it offering itself to him? As his hand touched, it flared brilliantly, lifting him into the sky. Bei Ming screamed through the rushing wind. "This is actual flying, not levitating!" He reached out to the rabbit, shouting, "Grab on, it'll take you out!" The rabbit smiled sadly, saying only he was chosen. Touching it would roast it alive. As the sword carried Bei Ming away, he promised to return, while the rabbit waved farewell and wished him freedom. The rabbit smiled in faith, vowing to find its true master and await Bei Ming's good news. The sword and Bei Ming became a streak of lightning shooting into the void. But near the edge, countless black hands grabbed his legs. He thrashed, the pull too strong, fearing he'd be dragged back. He shouted to the sword, "Come on! Don't give up now!" Elsewhere, Hao Tian frowned, sensing something wrong. He muttered, "No, this feeling, could it be?" Hao Tian convulsed, gagging violently. Finally, he vomited out a sword, coughing and groaning. He gave a strained laugh through the pain. Looking closely, he froze. It was Janma itself. Hao Tian roared, yanking his golden chain in blind fury. Then Bei Ming's voice echoed, calling him a filthy dog. He was pulling the chain from within the stolen body. Hao Tian's face went pale, cold sweat dripping. He couldn't believe Bei Ming escaped the void. He screamed in denial, furious that a mere human beat him, and that Janma chose Bei Ming instead. Before he could finish, Bei Ming blasted him away with a shout and a string of curses. The impact exploded like thunder, shaking heaven and earth. Dizzy, Bei Ming panicked, fearing Hao Tian had used his body to do something indecent to Mo Rushu. Stumbling toward her, he blurted that any weird things done weren't him at all. He forced a tired smile and apologized sincerely. Then he collapsed, utterly spent. Mo Rushu caught him, letting his head rest on her shoulder. Blushing, she muttered, "You're heavy, try that again and you'll regret it." Bei Ming breathed weakly, then fell sound asleep in her arms. Unable to bear it, Mo Rushu shouted and hurled both Bei Ming and Hao Tian skyward, yelling, "You two lust-driven idiots, get away from me!" The next morning, under clear skies, students cheerfully headed to school. Bei Ming and Hao Tian walked down a narrow alley, bickering like sworn enemies. Hao Tian widened his innocent eyes, joking he only helped Bei Ming kiss a goddess, so he deserved thanks. Then his face turned cold inside. He still burned with envy that Bei Ming had claimed Janma, the blade that once humiliated him against Yang Jian. Bei Ming snapped back, calling him shameless and venting his anger over betrayal. He slumped down, sulking that he was stupid to trust a backstabbing mutt. Hao Tian blinked, clueless why he was being blamed. Hao Tian patted his shoulder, promising sincerely to be trusted once more. No betrayal this time. With a sly grin, he said he'd use the Devouring Void's powers to aid them in future battles. Bei Ming tensed, asking if that meant no more borrowing his body to flirt with girls. He drew Janma threateningly, making Hao Tian yelp, "Don't draw it! Let's talk this out!" Sweat trickled as Hao Tian swore he wasn't lying. The void could both absorb and release energy. He reminisced about his glory days before Yang Jian defeated him, when he devoured heavens and hoarded nameless treasures. But since, being sealed on Earth, had lost most of his demonic strength and couldn't wield it fully. Seriously, he urged Bei Ming to hunt demons and absorb energy to gradually unlock the void's full power. Bei Ming raised an eyebrow, half skeptical. Is that even real? He touched the sword hilt thoughtfully. Hao Tian's logic almost made sense. Had seen that power firsthand. He recalled barely surviving the void even with Janma's help. He reasoned that using that strength could be useful, but suspected the mutt's scheme to boost his own power. Noticing Bei Ming's hesitation, Hao Tian smirked, suggesting he try it. Maybe he'd absorb a divine beauty-like change. As he spoke, Hao Tian sniffed the scent of rabbit, while Bei Ming suspected it was some random gacha ability. He cursed, "If that's your lottery system, I'm out." From afar, Mina ran up waving and shouting, "A Ming!" Bei Ming brushed his hair, smiling, "Morning, Mine," feeling better. She squinted playfully, smiling back, "I'm fine, not even hurt. You're the one who should worry, A Ming." Mai Nai wondered privately where he'd vanished yesterday. What the heck had he been up to? Beiming couldn't guess her thoughts, just smiled as she said, "Come on, Ming, let's get to class." He nodded and walked beside her, while Mai Nai decided not to ask more. Shed wait until Ming chose to tell her himself. Around the schoolyard, faint dark purple lights spread unnoticed. At the gate, Beiming frowned. The evil god was gone, yet a sinister aura lingered. His face turned serious. Was this illusion or a new threat approaching? Suddenly, roaring engines, red sports cars screeched to a stop, drawing every gaze. The girls screamed, "It's F4! Rich, handsome princes of the campus!" The long-haired guy whistled at Mai Nai, rattling off her height and curves like a body scanner. The blonde, gray-haired, and brown-haired ones laughed, praising Feng Xiao's talent like hungry wolves. The blonde squinted, remembering Beiming as the guy who'd once saved many people. The brown-haired one declared, "She's mine!" Feng Xiao sneered. He preferred the icy goddess Mo Rushu. The gray one noted Mai Nai already had a guy beside her. Feng Xiao flipped his hair smugly. "No wall I can't climb. Watch me." The F4 gang blocked Beiming and Mai Nai's path, leaving the two confused. Beiming wondered why these idiots kept staring. Did he offend them somehow? The long-haired poser strutted up and flirted. "Hello, beautiful, care to sit in my heart?" Leaving her frozen in disgusted silence. Mai Nai tilted her head and asked seriously, "Ming, did you bring the medicine?" He blinked. "Huh? What medicine?" She sighed. "No." "Fine then, someone take this guy to a psych ward and drag Beiming away." The F4 boys snickered to save face, while the long-haired one blushed stiffly like a broken statue. Then a pair of jade-white legs appeared, stealing every gaze. The long-haired guy gasped, "Mo Rushu! She's really here!" The black-haired one shoved in, hand on his shoulder, grinning. "Don't sulk, let my goddess handle this." "Quick, calculator measurements for me!" Beiming froze the instant he saw Mo Rushu, brain completely shut down. Her azure eyes bewitched every boy around. Even Beiming could only gulp dryly. Mai Nai looked on, confused why her childhood friend suddenly turned to stone. Seeing her glare, Beiming quickly sidestepped, cursing inwardly that this was all that damn dog Hao Tian's fault. Mo Rushu stayed silent, staring at him, making the air tense. Mai Nai coughed twice, trying to mask her jealousy. Mo Rushu spoke clearly, "Meet me at the pool after class." Mai Nai felt thunderstruck, turning to see Beiming frozen, mouth agape. Her mind raged. The pool. "A private date! That's open provocation!" The F4 erupted. Some screamed. Others despaired. The ice goddess had invited a boy herself. Their egos shattered instantly. At the pool, Mo Rushu's flawless figure made even the water still. She smiled softly. "Ming, you came. I've been waiting." She leaned by the edge, teasing sweetly, "It's so hot, come cool off with me." Every nearby guy's nose exploded in a chorus of nosebleeds. Even the narrator admitted, "Honestly, I would survive that either. Ha!" The black-haired F4 member seethed with jealousy, watching his goddess flirt by the pool with someone else. Another guy sneered, calling the goddess love's mortal plot ancient history. Sai Ni smacked Beiming's shoulder, jokingly rough enough to test bone strength. Beiming went pale, silently suffering like a doomed man. Sai Ni half-threatened, half-taught, promising to tell his parents if he dared date early. Beiming sweated bullets, clueless about what kind of interrogation this was. Lunch break came. Students buzzed, romance thick in the air. Beiming reached the pool, uneasy at the eerie emptiness. He wondered if he'd been stood up again under such a pretty sky. The pool suddenly bubbled purple, like boiling poison. Hao Tian appeared out of nowhere, triggering Beiming's full alert mode. Mo Rushu rose from the water, beauty so stunning it stole breath. Her figure froze every gaze with lethal allure. She dried off, musing about the spirit serpent core Shed just seized. Rushu secretly confirmed Shed picked the right partner for easy cooperation. Beiming flattered her, calling her a goddess, perfecting herself endlessly. Rushu replied philosophically, saying ice and snow were but lively forms of water. The group listened in awe while Beiming nodded like a model student. Rushu warned the evil aura lingered though the god was slain. Beiming pondered, the unease in his chest growing heavier. He worried for Shini and Jiao, fearing danger still lurked. Rushu moved closer, proposing alliance with half-threat, half-allure. Hao Tian urged him to agree fast. Teaming with her was a huge win. Hao Tian secretly schemed to drain more demon energy, pushing his friend toward the trap. Beiming realized both he and Rushu aimed to solve the school's chaos. Rushu waited patiently, her charm making him tongue-guided and flustered. She crossed her arms, smiling confidently, promising rich rewards for cooperation. Hao Tian couldn't bear the insult, yelling, "Golden chance, bro, take it!" Beiming shot the cunning dog a suspicious glare. He was about to speak but got abruptly cut off. Rushu spoke of a wealthy client hiring her, negotiating like a general. Her tone turned solemn as she promised all rewards to Beiming if he joined. Beiming blinked, doubting his sanity. Maybe her beauty short-circuited his brain. Rushu proudly declared herself a divine hand descendant fighting for sacred duty. Hao Tian gaped, nodding like hearing divine scripture, nearly clapping. They bickered. Hao Tian cheered for the goddess while Beiming yelled for silence. Beiming steadied himself and boldly refused, freezing Rushu in shock. The mood dropped heavy. Hao Tian fumed, baffled by his friend's choice. Bei Ming pocketed his hands, saying he was just a passerby uninterested in demonstrating heroics. That response made Rushu explode, shouting that Shed promised a fat reward. Bei Ming smiled calmly, saying no wealth could buy one's life. He knew deep down his unstable power might blow up any time. Recalling past disasters, he swore never to drag others into danger again. His reflection on the water merged silently with Rushu's. He ended the talk, choosing to leave alone and bear the exorcism burden himself. Rushu fumed, screaming disbelief that had abandoned everything so coldly. She softened, insisting it was fate he couldn't run from it. Bei Ming replied coldly, tossing out divine will like a taunt. Hao Tian barked furiously while Bei Ming silenced him with a warning glance. Rushu felt uneasy, wondering if Shed picked the wrong guy. She muttered in disappointment, thinking Shed overrated his courage. As Bei Ming turned away, a stern voice ordered him to stop. It was the homeroom teacher he almost thought an enemy had ambushed him. She stormed up, demanding why he was wandering around. Before he could explain, she cut him off and scolded him as a troublemaker. Her fury peaked, accusing him of dating right after exams. She coldly declared his test scores were 0 and his expulsion papers were filed. She added she wouldn't let Goddess Rushu get dragged into his mess. Hearing Rushu's name, Bei Ming's blood boiled, guilt surging back. Hao Tian sighed, baffled that such a strong master still worried about school. Bei Ming tried to explain he was in a rush for urgent matters, but no one bought it. The school intercom blared, summoning everyone to the hall for an emergency notice. Before Bei Ming could react, the sly teacher hatched a plan to humiliate him. He grinned wickedly, thrilled to finally remove the thorn named Bei Ming. Scene shifted to the packed auditorium. The principal stood on stage, announcing a meeting about the gym collapse. Two jealous guys muttered curses below, still salty over the goddess rejection. The principal said the repair team was at fault and had been punished. He bowed, apologizing to all teachers and students for the incident. Then his tone turned grave had announced a special decision about a student. The cunning teacher smirked, certain it was the expulsion form had filed. When the principal read Bei Ming, Class 2 Grade 3, his expression changed. Bei Ming froze, stunned to hear his name before the whole school. He shot up, heart pounding like thunder. The bald teacher gloated, dreaming his expulsion wish was coming true. The principal cited Bei Ming's long absence and lowest scores in the grade. Bei Ming's face darkened as the principal's cold tone continued. The final line silenced the hall, he will be expelled. The crowd erupted in shocked murmurs. The long-haired and dark-haired duo listened gleefully. They smirked at each other, whispering, happy ending, our rival's gone! Students split sides, some cursing, some defending, some recalling he'd once saved them, calling the expulsion unfair. Bei Ming clenched his fists, swallowing his rising anger. He wondered if this was truly the end, no way to escape expulsion now. Sai Ni, worried for her childhood friend, shouted his name through the crowd. Hao Tian growled impatiently, asking if he should eat those ungrateful fools for him. Bei Ming warned him sternly to shut up and not tempt him into trouble. Rushu stood cold and distant ahead, and Bei Ming guessed she was still mad. He stared at her in silence, clutching a bouquet, torn and confused. Suddenly, Teacher Diane approached, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder with praise. Her face glowed, eyes filled with encouragement. Bei Ming bowed slightly in gratitude. Teacher Diane smiled softly, telling him to visit her office after class to discuss studies. He nodded politely in agreement. As she turned away, both Bei Ming and Hao Tian noticed her smile twist unnaturally. A purple mist spread from her body, darkening the air. Bei Ming instantly grew alert, sensing danger. Hao Tian confirmed grimly that her demonic aura was intensifying fast. Bei Ming gripped the bouquet, vowing nothing bad would happen to Teacher Dian. His gaze hardened with unusual resolve. Hao Tian looked up at the clear sky, sensing a storm coming. They walked the hallway, discussing Teacher Dian's strange behavior. Bei Ming blushed at Hao Tian's teasing and barked at him to stop talking nonsense. He suddenly asked if Hao Tian's void-devouring skill could absorb that demonic aura. Hao Tian lifted his chin proudly, calling it child's play for young Master Mi. Bei Ming's eyes lit up, hope flickering bright, but Hao Tian added slyly that he could only do it through Bei Ming's body. Bei Ming rested his chin, suspecting the dragon just wanted to borrow his body again. The two faced off tensely until Hao Tian laughed awkwardly to defuse it. Bei Ming blamed his own weakness against stronger demons. Fusion might be the only option. Hao Tian eyed his thoughtful face, unable to guess his thoughts. Bei Ming slowly said they could use the spirit serpent's power to trigger void devouring for extra strength. Hao Tian wagged his tail, licking his lips, bragging the skill could also absorb artifacts or divine souls. Bei Ming replied quietly, hoping that power would be enough to protect Teacher Dian if stronger demons appeared. He turned away, eyes sharp like a warrior before battle. Hao Tian thumped his chest, promising not to fail his master this time. But secretly, he grinned, planning to push Bei Ming into using more demonic energy. Suddenly, a voice from the teacher's room said, Teacher Dian, this is for you. Teacher Dian replied coldly, warning Teacher Shang not to give flowers again or risk rumors. Teacher Shang persisted in confessing while she firmly rejected him, demanding distance. Bei Ming wondered how they could see, through the closed door. Hao Tian smugly said, it was demon heatsense. He added that Bei Ming had inherited the serpent's gifts, absorbing not just energy but talent. Bei Ming grinned, saying that meant more demon hunts, more power gains. Hao Tian frowned, thinking it troublesome how excited his prey had become. Inside, Teacher Shang grabbed her hand, insisting she accept the flowers.